Having me today. My name is Janelle Van. I'm with the RPR training team, and I am down here in Tampa, Florida. And I'm so happy to be with you guys today. Today's class is called Prep, Present, Prevail, How to Win Listings Using RPR. This is one of a series of 12 classes that RPR offers every single month. So if you want to come back and join us for another live presentation, you're certainly welcome to do that. But kudos to David for putting this together specifically for you guys, the North Star MLS. We're very grateful that you have decided to spend the next hour with us. We are going to talk about all things preparing for the listing presentation. So I'm going to get through as much content as I possibly can. What we did with this particular class is we changed it up a little bit. We broke it down into two separate classes. One, preparation for the listing presentation, where we go over the subject property, we analyze historical data, tax, mortgage deed, all of that good stuff. And then we broke it down into another class where we actually craft a complete CMA, because the CMA process in the RPR platform, it is a very comprehensive, very professional CMA, but it does take a little bit of time to prepare for that. So I'm going to try very hard to show you a finished product of our CMA today. But for the most part, we're going to spend time focusing on our listing presentation and how to prepare for that. So as I begin, I just like to give you all a quick overview of what RPR is. We are Realtors Property Resource, and we are a national database for both residential and commercial properties. So you have access to on-market inventory as well as off-market properties, residential, commercial. It really is a one-stop platform for all of your research, marketing needs. You've got Canva templates, postcards, mailing labels, just an abundance of marketing resources as well as research components, things like school data, market trends. We're going to cover as much of that as we possibly can today. Our platform was built exclusively for real estate professionals. It is included as part of your NAR membership, and there's no consumer or public facing access. So you're the only ones that have access to the RPR platform. And then you get to decide what reports you want to generate for your clients. Maybe you want to post some reports to social media or use some of our market trends to post to social media. So there's a lot of resources that you have access to here on the RPR site. Now, as David mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and shut my camera off so we can just focus on the content. You can see we've got a pretty lofty agenda today. I'm going to get through just about as much as I possibly can. And at the very end, we'll leave some time for you guys if you have some questions that you want to ask live. So we're going to talk about reports and how to make sure we include custom pages into the RPR reports. Specifically, when we're talking about going on a listing presentation, you can bring with you not only your CMA, you can also bring with you your neighborhood report, your market activity report. And with each and every one of the RPR reports, you can include your own biography, your resume, testimonials, all of that good stuff. We also are going to walk you through the process of entering in your own photo to your CMA before you meet with your clients. We want you to get into the habit of doing a drive-by before you go on the listing presentation and just kind of taking a quick photo so that you're not showing up with the CMA cover letter being a Google Street image. So we have the ability to add your own custom photo onto your CMAs. The majority of today's class is going to be right here. We're going to conduct a historical review and analysis of an off-market subject property in your area. When you are looking at a subject property to prepare for that listing appointment, it's important to understand previous sale activity, mortgage, distressed information. We can even go back and look at historical photos of a subject property and really kind of get a good idea of what we're getting ready to list. You also have access to an equity calculator in RPR as well as a seller's net sheet. We do have a very robust RPR mobile app, so I would encourage you guys to download that, and I'll show you how to do that in just a few moments. We're going to spend some time looking at market trends to really get a good understanding of what's happening in a local market. And we want to use that information not only to use for maybe some prospecting, but also for education for ourselves as well as our clients. We want to make sure they understand what's happening month by month in that local market. We're going to work on creating a market activity report. I'll show you how easy it is to generate that and share with your clients. And then we're also going to access neighborhood, school, flood, and climate data. I'm going to show you how you can really dive into all of this research. And it serves two really great, powerful purposes. One, when you're meeting with your seller, you're showing them that you're capable of diving into all of the data, the research. But when you are presenting these reports to your seller and you're explaining to them that you're going to share these reports with future buyers, there really is nothing better than showing your sellers that you've got all of this great data when the buyers come to visit the property. So you can see we've got lots to cover on our agenda. I want to talk real quick about estimates of value, and we are going to spend some time looking at a subject properties RVM, and that stands for Realtors Valuation Model. The RVM is unique to RPR in that it is going to be an estimate of value based on MLS active, sold, and off-market data. So it's an estimate of value similar to what you'd see on those third-party sites. The difference with the RPR valuation model is that it's refinable. So it's a very excellent place to start for pricing, but it's also the most accurate of all valuation tools on the market because it is pulling in active off-market property sales, and it's also, again, refinable. So if you see the RVM and you think, well, it's set at 500,000, but I know there's a brand new roof and they just remodeled the kitchen, we can take that information and actually refine the value. You cannot do that on some of those third-party sites where you see maybe those Z estimates. It kind of is what it is. You can't really touch it, and you know your sellers are already looking that up before you even walk through their front door. So this is a great way to kind of counter that and say, well, let's really talk about some of the upgrades and improvements that you've done to the property, as well as local market conditions when we're refining that value. Okay, here's a quick shout out to the RPR mobile app. We are always on our phones, and there is the QR code down on the bottom left. When we are working with buyers or sellers, the mobile app will give you instant access to search properties. You can create a CMA directly from mobile. So if anybody's been in real estate a bit, the second you pack a suitcase, somebody calls and says, hey, I need to sell my house. Well, you don't have to worry about being at your computer. You can create a CMA and share that directly from the mobile. So we will talk a little bit about what that's going to look like. You can create reports. You can share to social media some of those market trends and reports directly from mobile to social media, maybe Instagram or Facebook, whatever your platform preference is. You can share some of this data to your social media platforms. Okay, so we're talking about a specific subject property. And this is just a quick glimpse at the mobile app, some of the features for analyzing a subject property. You can see historical photos. There's your RVM, your list price for an on-market property. All of these pricing tools are available for you from the mobile app, the net sheet, CMAs, as I mentioned. You even have a mortgage calculator, which is really fantastic if you're showing properties to a buyer and they're kind of asking you, well, based on my down payment, what can I expect my monthly payment to be? We're going to analyze school data. You can quickly and easily from a subject property understand what's happening in the local school zones, as well as going a little step further than just the school grade. You can actually see average SAT, ACT scores, just a real deep dive into the data. And then, as I mentioned, from the mobile, you have all of these different reports that you can generate. You can share, airdrop, or post. Now, when we're estimating equity with a client, we've got the equity calculator. It'll automatically pull publicly recorded loans if they're available. But if you don't have that access, you can always go ahead and type in the loan amount and calculate your seller's equity. Okay, so let's get into the subject property. This is the property I picked, and I picked it for a few different reasons. I liked this property because there's a lot to really unpack with this subject property in terms of research. So we're going to look at 6620 Vernon Hills Road. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home. It has 1,719 square feet. It sold back in 2013 for $330. And remember when I mentioned that RVM, is a great starting point for pricing. The RVM for this subject property is sitting right at 671,300. So again, great starting point, not a substitute for a CMA, but it's already getting me kind of excited because I can see they bought this property for 330 and now it's valued at almost 700,000. So that's going to be our subject property that we're going to take a look at today. And just like that, here it is. Everybody can see my screen, okay? I think you should be able to. Okay, so let's talk about a few things on our homepage with RPR. First, I want to mention we've got the North Star MLS logo on the top left of the screen. Now, if I've got any brokers on the call today and you want to get your broker branding set up, please reach out to David or me after class, and we will help you get your brokerage branded on the RPR site. So that way, when you're creating all of your reports, the cover letter is going to include not only your contact information and your personal photo and branding, but your brokers as well. And then over to the far right, where we've got our little drop down here under our profile, this is where we just go in and set up your own personal profile, your personal logo, contact information. This is a 5-minute process. And once you've done this, this will always be stored for you. And every time you generate a report or a piece of marketing material from RPR, this contact information will all be set for you. Always include your license number. I always think realtors sometimes forget how important and how hard it was to get that real estate license. So always include your real estate license number on all of your reports. Okay, let's go back to the top. We're going to go home. Now, this is our home page. When you log into the RPR site, this is what you're going to see. If you are logging in from the mobile app, it's going to look a little bit different, as mobile apps tend to do, but you have most of the same search capabilities from the desktop as well as mobile. Now I want to peek on over here to our reports tab, center of our screen. When I click on reports, you'll notice we've got 8 different residential reports that you can generate. So when you are preparing your CMA, this is what you're going to land on, a seller's report right there. I'm going to try to show you that towards the end of class. Once you get the listing, generate a property flyer on the subject property. It's a 1-page flyer that you can blast to social media. You can print for your open houses, or you can just share it right from your mobile app when clients or buyers come in and tour the property. Use some lead generation there. We also just introduced some new templates, so that kind of saves you some time. When you are generating your reports, they are in a beta version. So if you have feedback, we want you to get in there, click on the templates and play around with those, see what you like, and then submit some feedback to us. But for the most part, every one of these reports can be enormously valuable when you are reaching out to a seller. Remember the neighborhood report I mentioned, where you can access all of the information, the census data about a specific neighborhood. You've also got your school data that you can bring with you on your listing presentation. And then, of course, your market activity report and your seller's report. You've got that CMA. Okay, so this is the home page. I want to point out a couple of things in terms of your home page. If you want to really kind of keep an eye on specific markets, maybe you're always working in a specific zip code, add your local markets to your home page. Click on add. All you have to do is enter in your zip code, neighborhood, city, and click on save. When you do that and we go home, all of those markets are going to be stored for you, kind of like a hot sheet. And what the My Markets will do for you is give you an idea of what has come on the market in the last 10 days. So any status changes that you see here on your screen, we've got 11 new properties that came on the market, nothing for lease. Anything in yellow will indicate that it's for lease. We've got 3 pending properties, and I can go right to the map and see, oh, look at that one, 2.1 million under contract. I can see what's recently closed. I also can see what's been recently leased and distressed. Now, if you're not familiar with our colors in RPR, we've got blue is going to indicate for sale, yellow again is for lease, and red is distressed inventory. So just make sure you spend some time setting up your My Markets. There's no real limit to how many markets you add, so you can add multiple zip codes, and then you can simply toggle back and forth from the markets that you're trying to monitor. Now, when I look at my markets, let's go back to that other one I was just at. When I have my markets set up, I can click right on the map and I can begin an entire search from that home page. I can also view the market trends, or I could create reports. So this specific part of the class here is really designed to encourage you to set up your local market so you can kind of monitor what's happening in that area. Okay, so again, we can simply toggle from residential to commercial. We're not going to focus on commercial today. This is focusing on the residential listing presentation. I do want to take you to our location bar. This is where you'd enter in an address to pull up a subject property. This is where I love to present to you how easy it is to toggle from active inventory, properties that are for lease, or we can switch and go directly to our public records database, which is really where we're going to spend time today looking at our subject property. But in terms of searching, you have property types, price filters, bedrooms, baths. More filters over to the far right gives you an entire suite of advanced filter options. And you can even apply keyword searches down here at the bottom, which is really more in line with working with buyers. Okay, so I'm going to take you up to my work, top right of our screen, and I'm just going to go down to my recent properties. This is where all of your work will be stored for you. And just keep in mind, any work that you do on the mobile app will automatically sync to the desktop. Okay, so if you are searching for properties or you happen to be just looking at a property and you forget to save it, it will automatically be stored for you when you return to your desktop. Okay, let's get up here to our subject property. Let's bring that guy up, 6620. Again, this is all about preparing for our listing presentation. So again, we're not going to have time to create a complete CMA today because I want to prepare you for doing the research for that subject property. Now, I have prepared a CMA on this property, and I will show you what that looks like towards the end. So what do we've got? We've got this blue bar, and all of these different tabs that you see are going to take you to another set of data points. And all of these options are available for both an on-market property as well as an off-market property. So when we are working with buyers, you're going to have the ability to create a CMA, analyze the neighborhood, and of course, review the market trends. So whether it's listed or it's an off-market property such as this one, you'll have all of these different options. So let's just go ahead and start with my updates. Over to the far right, when we're crafting a CMA, we want to make sure we upload our own photos. So let's click on my updates. And when we click on my updates, you'll notice you can add notes, you can upload your own photo, and you can access your seller's net sheet. Let's go ahead and take a peek at that. Now, your broker may have a net sheet preference. If that's the case, absolutely follow the rules. But if you don't, your broker doesn't have a preference, you have access to that net sheet from the desktop as well as the mobile. Now, I've been in real estate about 35 years, and I've always stumbled on some unusual things when I go on a listing presentation. So what I usually recommend is you go ahead, maybe print this or fill it out when you are sitting with your client. It's kind of tricky to fill this all in without having actually walked the property. So we could just say maybe this property is going to be listed at 700,000. Maybe they owe 500,000 on the property. I'm just using some funny numbers here. At the bottom, you'll see the net cash. When we're talking about getting ready for that listing presentation, now, our sellers want to know you can do all the research and that you're going to market the property and you're going to do a fantastic job of presenting it to the public. But this is really one of the most important parts of your listing presentation. They want to know what their bottom line is going to be. So you do have access to your net sheet. It is a dynamic document. However, I do recommend that you typically wait and fill this in until you've had the conversation with your property owner about what the list price is going to be. You also have your photos. I went ahead and uploaded my own photo. You can select this, and when we select and upload our photos, you'll notice we can make this the report cover, so it's not a Google Street image. And then in terms of notes, maybe you notice that this property backs to a road. We can go ahead and add that, and maybe have that conversation with our seller about, is it a noisy road? Is it a busy road? We can go ahead and add any notes that we want to talk to our clients about here. Okay, let's go back to our property information. Remember, your My Updates. This is for your eyes only. If you change the photo, nobody else is going to see that, just you and your clients. So if another realtor is evaluating this property, they're not going to see your photos that you've updated. But again, you see this photo here. It's a nice picture, but the majority of it is the garage. So maybe you go out and take your own photo and freshen it all up. Okay, so our property information page, we're going to come back to these tabs here, but first we're going to analyze the subject property in great detail. I mentioned earlier, it closed back in 2013 for $330, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. It's got 1,719 square feet, sitting on about 1/4 of an acre. I've got my RVM set at 671.3. Remember, not a substitute for a CMA, but a great starting point. And if you click on view details, it's going to show you a sampling of the properties off market that were used to calculate that RVM. So you can kind of explore, and when you are creating your CMA, when you are pulling comps in RPR, these properties that you see on the RVM page, you can use their starred, so you can actually include them, make sure you include them as part of your CMA. You could also print this document over in the top right. Okay, and if you aren't familiar with the RVM, again, it's that Realtors valuation model. It is refinable, and we refine that right up here under refined value. Remember, you've got the on-market as well as off-market sales all going into calculating that RVM. Okay, you've got your estimated range between 604 and 738. You've got a 5-star confidence score. So again, if this was a 3-star confidence score, I would maybe want to do a little bit more research before I counted on that valuation model. But the 5-star confidence rating is the highest score we give on that value. So in terms of basic facts, I've got the ownership name, the year it was built. I've got the tax ID and of course, previously sold data. Here's my pricing tools. I've already kind of created a CMA just real quick. Last night I was prepping. Our refined value, we're going to come back to that in a little bit. And again, you've got your seller's net sheet. Okay, property facts. When we're meeting with our seller, the public record data shows it's 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 1,700 square feet. But sometimes this info is incorrect. So if you see something that you don't agree with, maybe the square footage is really 1,800, you can go in and change that. And it's not, again, not going to affect what any other realtor sees, but it will help you if you notice something that is incorrect on the public records data and you want to make sure you've got that updated. Okay, I'm going to show you something really cool here. Let's back that guy out. So anything with your public facts and your changes, if you are creating a CMA and you don't see a field that you want to include, you can add additional rows. So maybe you're doing a CMA in a gated community, and I don't know about you guys, but pools are a pretty hot commodity down here in Florida. So you can go ahead and add additional fields that you want to include as part of your CMA. All you do is just simply click on add. We'll cancel that guy out. Okay, to the right of our property facts, we're going to spend a few moments here on our map. I love our map tools. When I click on the map, over to the right, and I'll tell you guys, we have an entire class dedicated just to our map tools because they are very comprehensive. You can see over to the right, you've got all of these different map tools. You also have 15 different geographical options. Great resource when you are searching for buyers in terms of neighborhoods or zip codes, school zones, things like that. But here's my subject property sitting right here on the map. Now, I want to talk to you guys about the road that we're seeing here and how we can kind of analyze the subject property from above. The first thing I notice is all of the neighboring properties are showing me the values. So here's my subject property sitting at 671, but I can also analyze the entire neighborhood. So if you go on a listing presentation and your seller is asking you, I forgot to ask, what was the house next door, what did it sell for? And it sold 2 years ago. You didn't include it in your CMA. You can just quickly bring that subject property up on your mobile app. Now over to the right on our map tools, we can change our view. If you take a peek here, we've got 4 different view options. We're looking at the road view, but I also can click on satellite view and quickly and easily kind of zoom in and see what's going on in this property. How big is the home site? Is it something extra special about this property? Maybe it backs up to some nice Greenland. But I can also go back to my road view. I can also click on the aerial view. I could analyze the terrain. When I click on the road view, let's say I want to kind of figure out just how busy these roads are. All I have to do is go down to my driving tool. Everybody see that right there? Just under the pencil, little car. I could click on traffic counts, distance, and travel time. Now, these 2 options are great when you're working with buyers. Maybe you have a buyer that wants to be within a 10-minute commute of their work or their kid's school. You can run a search based on their required or requested average commute time. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click on traffic counts though, and I want to just show you how quick and easy it is to analyze the traffic counts in an area. So there's my subject property. If I'm trying to figure out how busy this road is, there we go. There's the traffic counts. 42,000 cars per day are traveling pretty close to my subject property. Now that could have an impact on my suggested list price. You don't know. It depends on what your local market is and how much inventory you have. But again, it's all good research to kind of figure out where to go with your list price. So I always like to show the driving tools. You have points of interest. We could analyze schools, and we could also apply data layers. Of course, in Florida, flood zones are a huge, huge issue for us in terms of insurance. So you can access the FEMA flood maps as well. Okay, I'm going to cancel this guy out. I just wanted to kind of point out with our subject property, we could analyze the satellite view. We can also, if we have something unusual about a subject property, such as this road, and we want to understand how busy is it, all you have to do is just go to your traffic counts and you can analyze that. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's go back to our property information page. So again, the map is very useful for not only analyzing your subject property, but also kind of getting an idea of what's happening in the neighborhood in terms of neighboring property values. In terms of prepping for the listing presentation, obviously we want to see what's going on from above. We looked at the satellite view. I want to point out additional resources. So if you want to show to your seller that you're able to perform a climate analysis, maybe you notice when you walk into the property that it needs some new repairs. Maybe it needs a new roof. We have a tool here under your additional resources called Snaptimate, brand new partnership. You can go ahead and estimate the value at a regional level of the cost to replace a roof or maybe upgrade a bathroom or add a deck. You have all of these different additional resources that you can bring with you on your listing presentation. I'll do a quick demo of our climate check. It's going to take us to that platform, but look at how fast I was able to get a very specific climate snapshot for this subject property: precipitation, heat, fire, drought, and flood. Now see, in my area, very, very high flood risk, not so much in your area. So it's just something to keep in mind if you want to include that as part of your presentation. Okay, let's scroll down. You've got interior, exterior features. You've got legal description. So this is very important if you're getting ready to go on that listing presentation. You want to have that legal description ready for your listing agreement paperwork. I mentioned school data. I want to understand what is happening in that local school district. And guess what? These numbers could have an impact on the value of the property. In this case, we're sitting in a really terrific high school. If I were to click on Hopkins Senior High School, I mentioned earlier, not only are you going to get the grade, but you've got ACT scores, SAT scores, teacher salaries. And beyond that, you also have community reviews. So be careful with this because not every teenager was super happy with their high school experience. However, when I was reviewing the community reviews for Hopkins Senior High School, I found some pretty nice reviews. So you can package this all in a beautiful school report if you want, or again, just make sure you share that with your sellers and show them that this is kind of some of the information that you're ready to share with your clients. Okay, let's go back to our subject property. We'll go back to my work. And again, all of that kind of goes into having the conversation with your property owner. So we've got the map. We know we've got a pretty busy road backing up there. We've got the school data. We're sitting in a really good school district. I know my ownership information. I know Janet is the owner. She is the occupant. She's owned this property for more than 10 years. I even have her phone number. Now, we don't usually see this. I don't recommend you use the phone number if you are doing some prospecting in RPR. We do have a great prospecting class where you can create geographic farm lists and mailing labels. Listing history, we can click on view more details, and I can go back all the way to 2013. I could go all the way back to 2007 when it looks like they listed it sometime around April for $479, and it was canceled. So you can go in and review all of the previous listing data if it's available. And in this case, it is. We have the deed, the mortgage, and the tax data. Always important to kind of understand what you're walking into. When we go into the mortgage, we can actually see right out of the gate what the loan amount is, when the loan was taken out. And we are feeling pretty confident that Janet's sitting in some pretty good equity because it looks like her loan was 312 and we've got a value over 600. You also have tax data. Also, under our public record history, if this property had ever been in a distressed state, such as a pre-foreclosure or a short sale, it would appear under your public record history. So here's our taxes. It is a homesteaded property. That can be important if you're working with a buyer relocating and it's not going to be their primary residence. You want to understand what these different exemptions are and will they apply to new buyers. Okay, sales and financing activity, same thing. We can go through and see all of the years, and the most recent activity was when I created a CMA last night. Estimates of value, you can see it peaked way up here in 2021. Oh yeah, the market was crazy hot back then, but it's dipped down a little bit, and all of this data will really help you educate your clients, kind of give them that reality check. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the property details page. Really just about everything you could possibly need to know about that subject property is there. Traffic counts, flood zones, school data. Now, we could also access our map right from here, but it's basically going to give you the same map with the same tools. Again, you can zoom in and zoom out, kind of get an idea of what's going on in the whole area. Now I want to spend some time with you guys on market trends. This is something that I get really excited about because not only is this a great tool for research and education, it also is an excellent resource for marketing, prospecting. You can take these market trends and you'll notice over to the right of my screen, you can share them directly to social media. You could create a script specifically for a buyer or a seller. We're going to do that in just a few seconds. So let's take a quick look at the market trends for 55436. You guys are still sitting in a strong seller's market, only 1.35 months of inventory. The sold to list price percentage is about 97.8%. Median days in RPR or median days on the market is about 59. And the median sold price in that area is 382,875. So this is going to give you a few things to think about. One, gives you the opportunity to educate yourself if you're going on a listing appointment and you don't really know much about the area. All of that data is here for you. And two, it's a reality check for your seller. So if your seller is still thinking that properties are selling at or above asking, you can share with them, look, this market trend as of January, on average, sellers are negotiating almost 3% off of the list price. Now, when you scroll down to market trends, you've got active inventory. You've got the median price per square foot, great starting point for pricing. Sold listings, median price per square foot for solds in that area is $253. And with every one, now we don't have any sold public record data available. That just means there hasn't been enough, but if there were, it would be down here at the bottom. Listing inventory of distressed properties. It goes on and on in terms of the market trend data that you have access to. So I want to encourage you to explore your script writing tools. Your scripts, when you create these specifically for your sellers, are going to align with these market trends that you're seeing on your screen. So let's check this out. When I click on create script, you've got a bunch of different options, and I could spend 8 hours with you guys sharing all of the different tools. I wish I had more time, but I love to show this because not only can you choose your tone and your audience, but look, you could create a video script. Maybe you want to post to TikTok or Instagram, but you don't really know what to say. Create a video script and read it, and you're all good to go. Also, you've got a social media campaign script and the metric analysis. So let's just go ahead and run one real quick. We'll make it conversational. Our audience selection. Remember, we're working with sellers, but you also have the opportunity to create a script for buyers, maybe distressed sellers. We're going to go in and talk about sellers, and we're just going to analyze the metrics. Now, remember, when you generate a script, it's only going to be accessible from your market trends because it is specifically tied to your local trends. So look what just happened. Within 10 seconds, I created an entire script specifically for my seller, breaking down those 4 key details for that local market. So you can see, as a seller, understanding the correlation between different real estate metrics can help you make informed decisions when listing your property. Let's break down the data to see how they are interconnected. Okay, a couple things to know about this. One, you can absolutely include this in your CMA. All you have to do is export it to a PDF, and when you generate any of the reports in RPR, you can add your own custom pages. So I really encourage you to create your script, make it maybe your second page of your CMA, so it gives you some talking points with your seller about the local market. You also can copy the whole thing and post it directly to social media. And if you were to run a social media campaign, I'm going to show you real quick. When you run a social campaign for your script, you're going to get a little bit different flair. You're going to get emojis, hashtags, copy and paste, send the whole thing directly to social media, or maybe you just take one paragraph a day and post it to your story. So you've got all of the audience selections, you've got 4 different tones, and you've got 3 different action items that you can do with your market trends script writer. But for today's class, I really encourage you to run the script for a seller and include that in your CMA. Okay, let's exit that out. Let's talk about, I want to take you to your share button. Maybe you want to use these market trends for social. Click on share. You can take the entire chart and send it directly on over to social media, or you can click on more and print it and include that in your CMA. You can change the chart title. Super easy to click on Facebook if you want to post the market trends every month, maybe to social media, and let your sphere of influence know what's happening in that local area. Okay, let's move on to refined value. I've got a few more moments left, so I want to take you to the refined value. When we're talking about our property here, we already know that the value is set at $671,300. But remember, I mentioned this is unique and that you can take your knowledge of the property and the local market and refine that. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Under our refined value by home improvements, let's say you did a drive-by and you notice that this seller has just put on a brand new roof. We can go in and select any of these home improvement categories, select roof replacement. It's going to give you an entire detailed paragraph about what that roof replacement should include. We ask our client, when did you put that new roof on? They say 2023. They did it right after the holidays, and they spent $25,000 on that roof. Now, we know every seller thinks that just because they spent $25,000 that they should get all of that back on their value. However, we know that's really not the case. So when we click on add improvement, watch what happens to my 671,300. Do you think I'm going to get all 25,000 added to the value? Let's test it out. And usually I'll get about half. So let's see what comes up. And then as that's generating, I'm going to scroll down and just point out, you can go through the same process by needed improvements, local market conditions, exterior condition. Remember, we talked about the traffic counts. Looks like it's a little hung up. So let's refresh that and see if it'll help me out here. I'm going to have to log back in. Okay. Well, that's not playing. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Tech issue, but it did come back and gave me $10,942 for that $25,000 roof. So my value didn't go up 25,000. It went up 10 and it went to 682,242. We can do it by needed improvements. So say, for instance, you see that the property desperately needs new paint. We can add that in there. And the cost of a new paint job, maybe it's $15,000 for that house. We can add the improvement. And it's not going to adjust for needed improvements. It is going to actually take off the entire $15,000 because a cost is a cost. But this is a great way to show your clients that sellers are planning on expecting either a concession for the needed paint, or there it goes. Or it's going to expect you to take that money off the value of the property. So there it goes, $15,000, a cost is a cost. Local market conditions, we already analyzed it, and you guys are still sitting in a pretty strong seller's market. They're obviously having a little lag time here. So we're just going to move on, but I just wanted to point out, you can refine that value based on market conditions. The view, remember that view had that pretty large traffic count behind it. You could refine that value based on the view being a little less desirable perhaps than some of the other comparables. All right, we're going to get out of here, move on. Thanks for your patience. Let's do that one more time. Okay, I don't know really what's going on, but when it's a live presentation, you're always going to have a hiccup. So there you go. There's those different options. At the end of the day, once I made all of my refined value, I ended up at a value of 689,211. Now, a couple more things I want to talk to you about with your CMA. Click on CMA. And I don't know what's happening, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's my internet or I just want to thank you for your patience. There it goes. I don't know. Maybe it's my internet. CMA. We have two different CMA options. I would encourage you to really focus on this one. This is where it's kind of a quick and easy process. The 5 steps are going to be the same, but your sales comparison analysis is going to be more like an appraisal. So you really want to try to stick with your comparative analysis. You go through the 5 steps, you search for comps, make adjustments, review the comps, and then ultimately get your completed seller's report. And I'm going to show you the finished product here in just a few moments. Now, I want to leave time for questions, so I'm going to leap on over to our neighborhood tab, and I want to pull up what's happening in that local neighborhood. And remember, when you're analyzing this data, you see this Create Report tab at the top right of your screen. You can create a report anytime you see that Create Report option. So in this case, if we want to put this neighborhood report together, first we analyze the local market trends. Maybe we change our property type because we know we're working with just a single family home. Change your single family, apply it to all charts. We can analyze the housing market. Let's click on that and take a peek at what's going on with the listings. 24% of the folks that live in that zip code are renting, 76% own. So you can really kind of go through and analyze the local housing stats. If you are looking to do some prospecting for buyers, I'm going to tell you, we have a class dedicated to absentee owner searches. This is a real high population of renters. Sometimes we see 5%, 2%. 24% is a pretty large percentage of renters. This might be a good area for you to consider creating a geographic farm list to market to tenants. maybe convert them to become buyers. Okay, we can analyze the people that live in the area, the median age range. This is all US Census data, population of children by age group. Look at the number of middle schoolers that live in that area. If you are meeting with your seller and you present to them this neighborhood report and you show them, look, this is all of the different data that I am going to share with potential buyers, I think they're going to be pretty impressed. Okay, economy, quality of life. Now, if you're like me, I live down here in Florida. I don't know anything about your area. I have been there once. I went to a Minnesota Twins game, had a great time. However, if you're relocating a buyer from another part of the country and you want to show them some of the different stats, like annual snowfall, you guys are getting about 42 inches of snow. It gives you a side-by-side comparison of the zip code to the state, to the county, and then the city. You also have the AARP livability index and average commute time, how people get to work, monthly temperatures. Just a tremendous amount of data can be found in this neighborhood report. All you have to do is click on, if you want to generate a report, I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's click on create report. And for this presentation, I'm just going to go to our legacy report. Click on your legacy report. It's going to take you directly to your neighborhood report. Over to the right where it says manage custom pages, this is where you can upload your own pages. Maybe you want to add that script that I mentioned earlier. You can go ahead and choose where you want the script, maybe at the beginning, maybe at the end of your neighborhood report. We'll cancel that guy out. You also can add your resume. Maybe you want to add a bio or client testimonials, as long as it's a PDF and it's not more than 10 I don't even know what it is, megabytes. Go ahead and upload that. And then you can also personalize your report. We'll go ahead and make this for David. Thank you, David, for having me today. And we can include his name on the report cover letter. And then we just simply go to the very bottom and run. Also, I want to point out with our neighborhood reports, sellers reports, you have the customization option over to the right. Customization will give you the option to include or exclude some of those pages that you don't want to appear. So perhaps maybe this AARP livability index is not something you really care about. Just unselect it. You can select any of these report pages that you want. Now, once you've added a custom page, it's always going to be there. So if you want to remove it, you either unselect it there or you just can remove it under your manage custom pages, completely delete it. Okay, we'll go ahead and run the report. We'll leave the script in. Let's go ahead and run the report. It's going to take about 2 minutes for this to generate. And while that's happening, I want to point out to you that with all of the reports that you generate, you've got the ability to download them, of course, and print. We'll close this out. Look at that fast. It didn't even take 20 seconds. We can post our reports to social. Great resource for marketing. We can download. Now, in terms of the neighborhood report that we just ran, let's download it and take a quick peek at what it looks like. Remember, we want your broker branding at the top. So definitely reach out if you don't see your broker logo, your contact information, your script that you generated, and there's all the neighborhood data for that subject property for you to share with your sellers and then potentially your buyers once you get that listing. Now, I want to show you the seller's report. This is the CMA that I created last night in preparation for today's class. Remember, I uploaded my own photo. We've got my contact information. There's my script. This is a generic script that I created. And then here is my CMA. I got my comp analysis, my range, and these are some of the comparables that I selected when I created my CMA. As we scroll down, we'll start to see those. There's the historical photos. Now with our CMA, you have 79 pages. That's an awful lot. So I really, really encourage you to kind of go through these different pages and see which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to exclude. Now, if you join me for a CMA class, we go through the entire process of searching for comps. I did a real quick one last night, just did a basic comp search. Subject property is Vernon Hills. And then these are some of the local comps that just automatically populated for me. Obviously, you're going to know your market a lot better than I am, and maybe you'll know exactly which comps to include. And the last thing I want to leave you with before we open up the Q&A, the last page of all of our reports is going to include the About RPR data. Where does the data come from and how often is it updated? That's a frequently asked question. We do not have direct data input into the RPR site. So our data is coming to us from all of these different data partnerships. Obviously, your MLSs, your CIEs, county tax records, Census Bureau, Esri. Our school data comes from Niche, and then the frequency with which this data is updated. I always encourage you to leave this last page in your report in case your client is asking you, tell me more, tell me where you got the data. There's your net sheet. All of that can be included in your CMA. All right, let's see. Do I have any questions, David? Is this a good time? I got through as much as I possibly could.